The first game of the Super Saturday that was actually one of the worst games of the tournament. I thought was Italy v France in Rome.
Yeah, if worst means lowest standard, I'd say fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue that, like, you know, there were other games that there was nothing going on in. It was like Wales-Italy might have been. It was a pretty ugly affair.
Yeah. No, I questioned some of the quality throughout that, though. There were so many errors from France, and then Italy impotent ultimately, proven wrong, even though it looked optimistic that they were in the game, but proven wrong to be taking those 3-pointers again. But then it was also they had chances for tries that they went for and then just couldn't execute either from 5 metres out.
That's the biggest, for me, that's the biggest story, because obviously there's this ongoing debate, and we've taken the side in the show of, you know, when Italy get a penalty early in a game, especially in the context of what they are in this championship. They're the only tier 2 side in a tier 1 competition. And they're, you know, you're thinking most games they're going to get tonked. So when they get a penalty, a chance to go into the red zone, the argument is they need to be going tries, because you're going to need tries to win the game. And you kind of saw that 20 minutes of dominance gave them a 6-point lead, and then a loose kick, and France came right back at them and scored a try to make it 7-6, and all of that was wiped out, which is sort of not impossible, but less likely to happen if they open with tries and with purpose. But as you say, they did have those opportunities, and that's, for me, that's the biggest question mark now that's over Conor O'Shea's head. I mean, there's a lot of sort of defensiveness around Conor O'Shea in his capacity as sort of a director of rugby role. He's doing a very good job over there, and he's sort of marshalling a good grassroots system over there that's developing players. But on an on-field position, they seem like they have some talent, but you feel like they could be able to be just a little more organised than they are. And that's a prime example for any tier 2 side in a competition like this. That's the first and last thing that needs to be drilled into them. They need to have a number of line-out 5 plays that they feel confident executing. And they're, at the moment, they were pretty impotent from that area. And that's like, they were trying these goofy little pop to the front man that wasn't working. They were throwing the ball not straight. They weren't confident. They weren't confident from that range, and they have to be. That's crucial. It's crucial to any lower side success when they're playing a big side. It's something to look out for in the World Cup. I think some of the more successful tier 2 sides that you'll see, outside of the ones that obviously have just a load of ball skills, like your Fijis and your Japans, but your
Uruguay maybe,
but your lower level tier 2 sides are going to have their best success if they can feel very confident from 5 meters out that they're going to be able to execute a try. It's your 2-point conversion play. You know, it matters. It's important to have in your playbook.
In the book, for sure. And that's what's so disappointing, especially when they do go to those little gimmick kind of line out moves and stuff. It's just like shirking so much of that responsibility, and it's like you're not going to gain anything for that. You're just kind of resetting the play and hoping that someone will slip off a tackle, and that's more often than not going to happen. But then a few other coach killing errors that you can't really put on Conor O'Shea, but like your man Zanon not transferring the ball to the right hand and getting mugged off by a really good effort from Penaud, but it's like that shouldn't happen.
Zanon. He was the lad who had the ball bounce the post on him as well.
I know,
that was like, I mean, and that was, you know, a bit of a bad luck, but also just check your run and watch the pill.
And just
gather it and score. He actually had a bit of time, so it was a bit of a horror debut for Zanon.
Really. Those were 2 tries that you'd back
I feel bad
to have bagged.
I think you're right, and that definitely hurt them. But
France, as they did target the game, they played pretty well in terms of stifling France, but they're lacking so much by just cutting edge at the end, and just there's no clinical feeling to that team at all, and it's all a bit loose, and then when it gets loose they're not as good at playing that game. And then the try they ended up conceding to put it beyond their reach was like an excellent example of French heads up play, but also Italy, what are you doing?
Jaden Hayward just getting beat in the air by Ntamack.
Ntamack is right, making a brilliant play, to be honest. Ntamack, good and bad actually, to that they didn't execute enough control from 10. That's why you were kind of calling for Lopez, who didn't actually get on at all, did he?
No, there's still a bit of beef there between himself and Brunel. They'll have to get over that. Head of a
more
World
of a
Cup.
kicking. Oops, fun. But excuse me.
Silent.
I thought I did. But like it's just difficult to see how France are going to try and approach the World Cup now. Like I hope that they're more set with this kind of certainly those halfbacks, that kind of Toulouse element running through. I thought Medard had an excellent game at fullback, which doesn't actually simplify things as much as complicate them if they're.
No, I don't agree with that. I think it's good. I think they have many as an option at fullback, but like at the moment, those are the two Toulouse boys are the two incumbents, and there's options there for different sort of tools for different tasks. When it comes to that, and absolutely, I think mute that. So the different tools for different tasks. The thing that you really would be sort of head in hands. I mean, it would be understandable, but you'd just be going, "Oh my god, calm down." The thing that you'd really be sort of skeptical of would be if Brice Dulin came back into the mix, or Scott Spedding ahead of the World Cup.
Yeah.
And it was all new again. Yeah. When they actually have within this squad that they've formed a lot of positives and a lot of tools that they can use. They had the classier players in the day. They didn't play well. They played a scrappy game. They looked disjointed. There was some questionable stuff. They tried to solve their issue with not having a 7 by sort of ripping Itoria from the team, which I didn't like.
Because he's been a positive contributor in all of their forms. He gets through a lot of work.
The 7 they brought on, the 2 flankers, in fact, Aldrich and Camera, were all over the place.
Really poor. They were probably the 2 leading causes of Italy being as in control of that game in parts that they were. Like, they had a lot of ball, more than they should have. France still have no ability to pilfer ball at all. They're relying on hitting you and trying to stop you that way.
Totally.
And like, they are good at that. Their defensive line, because they don't commit, their defensive line is quite difficult to break down. But like some of the plays as well, they also did just have like negative impacts. Both Aldrich and Camera had some loose plays that weren't anything to do with 7 or otherwise. They were just poor rugby. Ripping Itoria out was wrong. Their locks though looked better. Like the second row partnership without Van Maheen in there got through a lot more work.
Willemse was much more impressive than he was in the opening day.
Yeah, it's true.
And Itoria is a good man to bring on in that area. I had sort of theorised during the game, just because I see it still, like Bastro's such a positive guy to have in there, but gee whiz, the guy in terms of his physical capabilities and even his rugby play around the pitch would make a very decent back row forward.
Kind of in the mould of Armitage when he was playing with Toulon. Just really stocky over the ball. He could be a good 7.
He carries well, he tackles well. Could he get the question would be about his fitness, in terms of it's a very different type of fitness playing at 13 in the back row. 13 is more explosive, but in the back row you're constantly moving. And the question is whether he could handle that.
I don't know if he could really, because even at the centres he's like
takes plays off.
He does take plays off, and it's like he's easily exposed at that high level where players can get to the outside. Like, it's a lot of space to shut down for the 13 channel, and he's a big hefty man with not that quick.
But that's the thing. He could perhaps be more useful in the tight rather than having to be explosive in those wide channels, which is its own kind of challenge.
It's true, but then I liked the balance with himself and Fiku, as long as they had Ramos. They had the distributor from fullback, which there's balance to that. It gives them that direct kind of bludgeoning centre, but gives them the options to go wide, which is where they actually find most purchase when they're successful. Things like in the Wales game, when they get it out into those tram line channels and are able to mix some interplay with backs and forwards out there.
That Wales game was done without Bastro.
It was. It's true. It's also strange. You just so many questions. It feels like they've made some positive strides. It's actually been a pretty positive tournament on the whole for France, considering where they were coming off the back of the Fiji result. And
I actually didn't think they were too bad a place either, because I thought the Fiji just did the job on them, and that happens sometimes. Like they're not in the elite top 5. I would say
they're not,
or top even 6.
And that was what was illustrated by their loss to Ireland as well. Whereas even though there was more optimism about the team, they were not quite structured enough to deal with Ireland. Like, everyone knows it's predictable what Ireland are doing, but they didn't have the elite level to actually stifle any of what we were doing. And with no ball pilferers on the team, it was just a recipe for Ireland successfully keeping ball and throwing them out.
I think their pack needs work, to be honest. Like, I actually think their backline, as you say, can have a nice balance to it. They have options. They can be dangerous. Ntamac's a good option. Lopez is a good option off the bench. Still questions about who comes in behind Dupont scrum half at the moment. It's Saran. It's from France's perspective, what you're seeing is some relatively negative plays out of their tight forwards, and just like what we're going to talk about when the Wales game comes up is about Alan Wynne-Jones and his sort of incredible nous around those areas, and they have sort of the antithesis of that. They don't make those clever plays. They don't. You don't see those from experienced heads like Penaud. You don't see those smart plays where they shut things down and maybe get guys on tilts, and it's just
either their performances are either like explosive and dominating, or kind of sluggish and tired, and there's very little of that kind of clever play that goes on. And a lot of times when they're being illegal, they're being very unsubtle about it as well, and end up just coughing up some cheap penalties. There's also question marks about the strength of their scrum currently.
It's okay.
It's only okay though, and it's like for a French team that would base a lot of confidence off that particular set piece, it's probably not at the level they would want it. And certainly that seems like technique. Like Cian Healy was exposing a bit of a problem that you were citing as well with Demba Bamba, a little high in that. It's
fixable though. I'd stick with Demba Bamba. He's a big, strong man.
This is it, and they're all relatively fit compared to where the French pack has been even a few months ago. So like that is an improvement. But the cohesiveness and just a bit more maturity as a team is still needed, and they're still a very young team.
And a functional back row. Because actually in Type 5 there's issues with scrummaging, but Guirado's a great player. I think Poirot and Bamba are guys you can back to take it to the World Cup from where they are. If they can ever put together the Lambie and Itoria lock partnership, that's serious. That's a serious Type 5. And then they got to sort out their back row. At the moment, Penaud is the incumbent 8. That seems fair enough. He's probably deserving of that. But then they need workhorses as flankers if they have Penaud in there. And at the moment, there's just a big question mark over what they're doing with those two jerseys, 6 and 7.
And that was not answered at the weekend because those two were shocking. And so it's question marks, but I would be confident that they'll actually, like with a World Cup camp together, they'll probably do something, and they'll probably do for at least one team in the World Cup. They're usually good for that kind of stuff.
Well, that's the point. The doing for one team would get them into a quarterfinals, and they've got a tough draw. Argentina is the bogey one for your third team in that tier, and they're when it comes to World Cup time, they're very often not just one of the top 8, one of the top 4.
Yeah, it's true. They can get very streaky. That'll be a great game as well, just as a spectacle. But that's way down the line. As far as Italy are concerned, it's unfortunate, and it's another winless tournament. It's another pointless tournament for them. They didn't actually accrue a single point, which is vindication from my thought that they should just be going for tries the whole time, because there's no tangible difference on the board between like losing admittedly like better showings against a much changed Wales, slightly stuttery Wales that were like not cohesive as a unit, but a decent performance, but still a loss with no points. Same with Ireland. They can see looked good in parts, but it ended up being a bonus point win for Ireland, no bonus point for Italy. Same here against France, and it was like they were in with a shout in all those games. They were competitive in parts, but there's some of their ambition. They can't be kicking 3. They really can't. And that's only in the context of this tournament. Like when they're playing against a Georgia, say, or in World Cup time, like whoever, I'm not sure.
South Africa and New Zealand,
and who else is in
I'm actually going
to
get those pools up.
Because like they're like as well. I would be raging in that World Cup to see them kick 3 against New Zealand. It's like, what is the point
against New Zealand specifically, because they have beaten South Africa in this little 4-year cycle. So they'd be thinking most optimistically, if we can turn over the box on an off day for the box, then we get into a quarterfinal, and all of a sudden Conor O'Shea is hailed as the greatest coach of all time, perhaps. And so that's like going to be a big game that they target. But they got to be aware, like Japan weren't in the last World Cup, of getting those extra points on the board, because if they turn over South Africa and South Africa go and turn over the All Blacks, then it's going to come down to bonus points between the three of them, and getting a try bonus against the All Blacks could be a useful wee thing.
Well, one of the things they'll need to get right is their attacking set from 5 metres out,
for sure,
for that to happen. And this, as a dry run for the World Cup, from Italy's perspective, this is a tournament that has got away from them with no points gathered, which if that repeats itself in the World Cup, they're going to predictably exit at the group stage, which is obviously what they're expected to do anyway, but should be striving for more.
Make sure third place with the because that's automatic qualification for the next World Cup. That matters as well. Namibia and Canada.
Those are more on their level.
Namibia are an unknown entity as far as I'm concerned. We haven't seen them play any proper teams. And Canada are... Well, they put up a positive showing against the US recently.
In a losing effort,
they're way off the pace. So it's actually a decent little group for Italy. There's no bogeys in there.
apart from the two big monsters that are
in terms of
yeah,
third place security, they can be pretty confident of that.
Which just means they should be going all guns,
gunslinging
into those games.
The other point that I can't make enough is that they need to get a proper 10 who can kick in there. I mean, whatever about the 3 points thing, making it 17-12 and it was 17-9 that time could have made a difference. And Tommy from straight out in front blasted it wide.
Yeah.
I just feel bad for him because he's clearly not a 10. Like, it's just a centre, and they're making him kick and they're making him do all these plays that he doesn't have in him, and they're making him look worse than he is.
Yeah.
Because when he plays like a 12, he looks pretty class, especially with ball in hand.
Yeah,
he can pass, he can run, he has good vision.
Mm-hmm.
He's a distributing 12, a really good one.
Yeah.
Get a kicker of a ball in there, and they shouldn't be trusting McKinley because he's not there at the level.
Yeah.
They should be getting the guy who's been capped a few times at international level, who's having a good season for Zebra, Carlo Cana, for the World Cup. They should be getting him in there. No, just 100%.
Yeah.
Right, 100%.
Yeah. Even with him out there, those Zebra keep losing games by
sure, scores. Because they lost to Leinster recently, and Carlo Cana was their best player. I mean, it was like Benetton lose some games as well. Like, you can't just bring Benetton to the World Cup because Zebra lose loads of games. Benetton would not do well at the World Cup.
No, they would not.
They're doing well in the Pro 14 against rudderless Scarlets and the like.
Yes, no, that's very true. I'm inclined to agree because it's just a lot on Tito to be the sole kicker of a ball in open play. And although he's in that mould, I don't think he's particularly good at it. I think he's okay at it. He's not stellar, like, you know. He's
my scrummy of the tournament. Little tiger. He changed the game for Italy.
He did. When he came back, he proved invaluable, like that in that opening game when they lost
to Ireland.
When they were without him against Scotland, they really looked like a team without a plan, and it seemed that the actual plan was to have Tito kick all the balls, so they didn't have a plan B for that, which was a problem. But you're right in saying there needs to be some versatility at 10, and also the fact that the centres don't really do anything. Like Maurizi, he did actually grab a try in response.
He grabbed a couple of tries in the tournament,
which is like fair play to him. I would still feel a lot better, like considering their tendency to leak a load of tries by missing tackles anyway. There's not that much to be lost by...
you're not taking Robbie Henshaw out of the team.
Exactly.
You're taking Luca Maurizi out of the team.
Indeed.
And then all of a sudden you're talking about a 10-12 axis of Cana and
Tommy Allen
with Campanaro at 13 and some quick wingers, and all of a sudden there's actually things the attack can do.
Yeah, for sure. And Hayward had actually a pretty decent tournament from fullback as well. That seems like they'd be better place to do that, because then it would be less pressure on Tommy, but also just more options for them ball in hand. And they do have, like, that's one thing that's improved this over the course of Conor O'Shea's tenure there, is that they look a bit more like a team with a structure ball in hand. What happens in the tail end of games then, when they're being combative and stuff, they kind of get slow to get into that shape, and that can be a problem for them because they get just shut down. But at least there is that shape there. They're actually trying to implement some of these systems.
And
they just could do with a mix up as far as personnel are concerned.
They have some genuine depth up front. What I would love to see them do ahead of this World Cup camp is get a big camp together and have the focus just be on the rugby and get a lot of those Treviso boys. I'd like to see them bring in like an outside head, a new, not necessarily changing the coaching staff, but just bring someone in as either a forwards coach and a defence coach for like maybe 2-week camps at a time, to sort of focus. They have the luxury to do that ahead of the World Cup, to focus on what they're doing up front, getting their line out and their line out drive perfect, and then a defensive coach to maybe work on tackling technique and getting out of the line.
That's got to be
and
one.
All of that. Technique. Take 2 weeks at a time to work on both of those, and then obviously get everything else structured. But I'd be encouraging bringing new heads in there to do that. And I don't know as well about Sergio Parise and what he's doing in the team, to be honest with you, and captaining and winning dubious man of the matches.
Oh, he was man of the match. He really wasn't. I thought
Maynard kind of made a mug of him for that opening try. Just stepped and got around him.
You're right in saying, you were pointing it out during the match, that it's like, for a number 8, the amount of soak tackles that he's putting in, like, he's not really physically imposing himself on the game in the way that actually Pelledri kind of did. He really well, and Stain has shown some of that throughout the tournament. He was a bit quieter yesterday.
I mean, you could have a back row of your boy Negri, Pelledri, and then Bromstein at 8. And you could even throw Zani in there sometimes. So there's there's depth. There's 100%. There's depth there, and then there's even boys coming in behind in Chorizo who are doing jobs up front as well.
See, the intangibles are, I don't know how much
they just galvanise around Sergio.
They do, like, and kind of justifiably, like, it's similar to like Brian O'Driscoll for the Irish team in years gone by. It's but the only difference is that even an aging O'Driscoll was still working on his game and improving and kind of evolving with the times, lose a step of pace but become a more savvy defender.
In his last Six Nations game at home, he had like 3 assists and was man of the match.
Exactly.
That was genuine,
against Italy, funnily enough.
Yeah.
But but like, compare that. Parise just seems like a guy who's old out there, and
he's probably feeling very happy about the fact that he's getting through the games and he's putting in as good a shift as his body's allowing him to put in. But at the same time, it's hurting them right now because he's just not. Yeah. He's not he's in there. He's going to be in there with horses coming at him. Yeah, and he's true. Little Dan Levy shaped monsters, that are just going to outwork him all day and are probably a bit more physical as well. And it's been creeping into his game for the last few years. Things like sloppy defensive errors, missed tackles, but also ridiculous passes that are not only like Italy don't have the best ball skills in the world, but he's doing like no look passes that are kind of everywhere. They're not into the breadbasket at all. Yeah, even when he has to do the simple thing of being the distributor forward to whip it back to Allen in behind in that sort of protected mini screen forward pod to back pod. He's throwing the ball all over the place. He's throwing it really quick and like here, and like best case scenario, it just slows up the move a little bit. And I don't know why they make him do that as well, because he used to be really good at it, but he's not anymore, and he's forcing it.
It is forcing it. Is exactly it. So that's a question mark. But then he is their captain, and it's very hard. He's still man for one man as well. Like, he's had a stellar career. Yes. Probably a difficult spot for Conor O'Shea to try and make that call, but you're probably right on form. There's probably a better back row that you can pick there.
It would be that there's a lot of baggage from those days with Sergio, a lot of brave defeats and etc. I don't think it would be any bad thing to go new era on it and get a young squad and get them going, young captain, and away we go.
This is it.
Captain Tito.
Yeah. This is kind of like with Ireland, when you're talking about all those players from the last generation who had just had horror memories of France, and then comparing that to the younger generation who have pretty much only good times spent over in France, winning games for club and country. And it's Italy, if they want to usher in the new, maybe time to kind of...
they're probably going to do it post World Cup, but that's going to be too late for Conor O'Shea.
It's true. And it's a shame. It's whether there's an ace up the sleeve and he can upset the apple cart, knock Razzie back down, possible.
That would be
very unlikely.
Shock.
Yeah,
it would be bigger.
Outdo the Japan one,
perhaps. Yeah,
I'd be amazed if the Springboks get caught like that again. I would be amazed.
They are a much fresher bunch this time around.
I don't foresee it.
In that last year, leading into that World Cup, Heineken Meyer sort of went back into his shell and stopped them playing the rugby they had been playing, and they had some negative rugby championship results, and it all got just a little bit tentative, and they called Matfield back in, and it was all very tight and physical, and actually did sort of get them to a World Cup semi ultimately, but they got caught in that Japan game just because they weren't the same team and they were all a bit negative.
So I don't think Italy will be facing that picture at all. No. I think they may be more like
Razzie's boys with their quick wingers
rampaging through them, and if their tackle technique hasn't got lower than the South African boys, similar to what the England boys do, like physical dominance. That South African team went to Twickenham and looked absolutely physically dominant for many minutes. So compare that to poor Italy. They really, that tackle technique though has to be a priority, because like the defensive system seems okay, because it never gets far enough in the testing of it before a sloppy missed tackle is made or is not made, and then
to be fair, they got the tackles were good against Ireland, so it's not just even about first attack, it's just about dealing with the speed in those sort of more open channels, when it's actually like 5 meters of space, and it's going to be like on your weak shoulder or on your outside shoulder, and you have to make those movements. They're just not quite at the level.
They're not, and they go very high. They have a tendency to go stupidly high against bigger men. And it can make for an embarrassing picture.
Yep.
But sure, look, I suppose we'll leave that one. Thank you very much for watching that video. If you're new here, please like and subscribe down below, and leave a comment as well, because we enjoy the chat and conversation. Thank you.